Hey, today we're going to talk to you about children releasing your parents when you get married. We're actually working on a trilogy right now, so it kind of sounds like Star Wars,
It
doesn't it?
does,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. We're going to work on a trilogy right now. This one's children releasing your parents when you
Hmm.
get married. There's another one about parents releasing your children. I could also call that kicking them out of the nest, but it just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
Not exactly.
Okay, and then the third one is about children, what to do when your parents refuse to let go. And that's kind of good. It's a whole different flavor. It's when
Mm.
I want to have my parents release me, but they won't release me. So that's the third one there.
We've
So
seen all three of these scenarios, so I
yeah,
think I think you'll find them helpful.
we thought it's good to separate them, and we'll put links to the bottom of all of them so you can find them together like that.
Hmm.
But children releasing your parents, in my experience in over 30 years of counseling, I found it's pretty even that that the guys and gals getting married have trouble releasing their parents, or with that issue. But it's been also my experience that of the parents that have trouble releasing, most generally it seems to be the woman. And it's probably because the man is more goal oriented. We were taught as young, you play baseball for the season, then you're done, and boom. You play basketball for the season, then you're done, you move to the next thing. And men kind of do things like that. They go bass fishing, and then they come home and they're done, and then they go golfing, and then they're done. And I think a man has a mindset, okay, we're going to raise the kids, and then we're going to be done. So when the kids leave, the men are like, goodbye, sayonara, it's nice knowing you, but it doesn't really end quite like that, guys. Trust me. But I think guys are more like that. It's where the women are more relational. And I'm so glad that they are, because they bring a balance to the caveman that's in most guys. Yeah.
So moms often find their purpose in raising their children. This happens very naturally because when we have our children, when they're babies and small, they require so much of our time. There's so much that they can't do by themselves, and so it's a natural part. And sometimes as the children grow older, moms can forget that they need to release and give the child independence. So, how does a mom adjust when her child gets married? Well, that can vary quite widely, but as a child, you can help your parents out with this. God wants you to have a one flesh marriage with your spouse, and there aren't any parents involved with that. So, you need to watch and take the steps to release from your parents, and that will make it easier for them also.
Yeah. And this isn't in our script, but something else. Shocker, right? That I do something out of script. A lot of times I get done, I'm lucky if I followed the script at all. But a couple of things about the moms being able to release that hinders that. One thing is that a lot of times people get married, and in an ideal situation, let's call it ideal scenario, two people meet, they become friends, they start dating, they fall in love, they decide to get married, they take a couple years, work out all the kinks in their relationship, and become one flesh, and then they get their finances, their house, everything in order. Then they have children. And that's probably the ideal way to happen. But it doesn't often happen like that. A lot of times people get married and they don't have the finances. They haven't taken the time to work it out, or maybe there's a baby on the way when they get married. And so, all of that is probably not as ideal as that scenario that I gave you at first. And so people get started if they don't have their marriage ironed out and haven't figured each other out, and they have kids. A lot of times people get married and they say, well, it's not working out. I have a great idea. Let's have kids, which is probably the worst thing you could do in the world, because the culmination of love between a husband and wife is children, but nothing will divide you more than a child. So here you are, you're not getting along, so you've made this brilliant decision to have kids, and then the wife, you're still not getting along, so the mom throws her allegiance into her children, and the guy is that man left out, and he throws his into his work. So that's probably another reason the mom has more problem letting go. And one other thing too is, if you look at the whole thing of having children, the man provides the sperm and that's it. The woman, from the time before she was even born, she had all the eggs she will ever ovulate in her life. Before she was even born, she had them all made, and they were all in her. I thought they made them as they went along. Shocker! I learned that. God's great. So she has that egg. It actually attaches. She carries that baby inside her. She feels it. She bonds with it in the womb, and the husband just can't do that. I used to talk into Kim's navel, like a microphone, to talk to the baby, but it's not the same as carrying the baby. Okay? And she feels it kick. She feels it hiccup. She feels it turn over. She has that child, and if she chooses to and is able to, she could actually sustain the baby's life, with their own breast milk. And that's just incredibly bonding. Kim breastfed, it's incredibly bonding for Kim and the kids. She loved that. Okay? But the man, all he did was the first part, and he's out of it. And so the baby's born, everybody oohs and ahs over the baby and the mom and all this and that. And the man's left standing in the corner. And a lot of times the man thinks, well, I guess it's all about them now. I'll go throw myself into my work. So that's probably another reason why the women are more bound to the children, have more of a bond, I should say. And the husband is probably less. And also our temperaments are different like that too. Mm-hmm. Some reasons for the kid not wanting to separate. One, it could be that my parents need me. And the reason that the parents might need you is because maybe they don't really have a one flesh relationship of their own. They've never worked that out. They're one of the later scenarios I just talked about. And so to not have a one flesh marriage and pour yourself into your kids is really a form of dysfunction. So now that you get married, if your parents want to maintain that relationship with you or you do with them because they need you, you're just continuing the dysfunction and you're bringing it into your own relationship. And I would challenge you not to do that. If you do, you're just enabling your parents. And on the flip side, if your parents and your kids don't want to let go, you're just enabling them. You need to let them get out of the nest and experience the fullness of marriage, the oneness, the interdependence of marriage, and just the fullness of what a relationship can be. And God made marriage to be one flesh, and that's between a husband and a wife. There's no moms or dads included. It's just not. It's just that way. So by all means, I'd encourage you to do that.
So another reason for the child not separating could be, I need my parents. I guess I talked about this a little bit before, but when a baby is born, they're totally dependent. They can't do anything on their own. They can't walk or feed themselves or anything.
I grew up on a farm, and a baby pig or a calf can get up and walk and take nourishment from its mom. And if they don't, within the first couple hours, they're probably going to die. And yet we can't walk for a year.
Yeah.
So we're totally dependent.
So, yeah.
Good illustration there to come in there.
Very good illustration.
Wasn't even on the script. Go ahead.
So as humans, we're born totally dependent. Then when we're adolescents, we want to become independent.
Which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
We don't want a 20-year-old you got to bottle feed and diaper probably. So yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And the parents and the kids might not see independence in the same way, so that can cause some friction there, but that's a normal part of the growing process.
Yeah.
But then when you get married, you have to make a shift to interdependence, and this is so important.
So you're telling me you start out dependent, then you become independent, then you have to shift to interdependence? There's 3 steps?
Yes.
Wow, good. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if we don't become interdependent with our spouses, we're actually more like roommates, and that's not at all what God wants for us or what his plan is for marriage. The more interdependent you become, the more the one flesh with you and your spouse is going to grow, and the closer you're going to become together, and the more your marriage is going to look like what God wants it to be.
Good. So if you're going to get married, it's time to cut the umbilical cord. That's how a guy looks at it. That's how a dad would look at it. The next thing I want to talk to you about that can be a hindrance in this is money. And there's times that the parents will use money and hold it over the kids to keep them in that relationship. And there's times the kids want money so bad that they'll do that. Kids, if you want independence and your parents won't give you independence, good idea, move out of the house. Get out from under their shelter and them paying all your bills. It's hard to say. It's amazing the number of people that come in and the husband and wife are living with her parents or something, and yet they claim they're the ones complaining about the situation, but they're living there totally free. If you want to be treated as though you're an adult, you're going to have to start acting like an adult, and that means breaking the bond of financial dependence. It's hard to be taken seriously when you have your hand out all the time. So it's something you're going to have to do. I like the story of the people that did that. They broke free of their parents, and they were poor as church mice, but they were the happiest people that they knew. Another issue is just failing to bond with your spouse. Things go wrong, so you just get out of the situation, you go somewhere else. My mom used to tell the story that when her and my dad were first married, that one time she went home to her parents, and she had a suitcase, and she walked in the door to the kitchen. My grandpa was a big guy, about 6'3", and size 13 shoe. He's a big guy and a booming voice and everything. And she walked in and the suitcase, and he says, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, Bud and I got in a fight. I'm gonna spend the night here." And her dad said, "The heck you are." He didn't really say heck, okay? But he said, "The heck you are. You made your bed. You lie in it. Get out of here. Go home to your husband." And my mom told me that was the best thing her dad could have ever done for her. So Kim and I, this isn't maybe popular with some people, but we've let our kids know that we have a one-way door. When they graduate and I mean they get out on their own, after college, they're going to live on their own. Now our daughter or son-in-law, our son and their spouse, like if their house would burn down and they needed a place to stay, until they get a hotel or rent a house or something or another house or whatever, for a month or something, we'd probably be open to that, but we'd have to have a discussion about it, and there would be a definite time limit on that. And it might be, okay, let's do it for a month, and then we'll sit down and have a talk and see if we want to continue it again. That is so smart. I knew a lady who moved out of her house and her son wanted to keep it and rent it with his friends. And I said, that's not going to work. And she said, you don't think so? And I said, no, he's not responsible enough. And I said, what I would do is I would just set up a time like every month to review. Well, I think they did that, and they figured out that the puppy wasn't barking. It wasn't going to work, and so they got out of it. So don't let money be a source of that. Money could actually prostitute you into not having the relationship with your spouse. And so break free of that. Go out and make your own money. Go out and make your own way. It's okay. You can do it. It'll be all right. Sounds like a dad. Tough it out, right?
So to fully experience oneness in your marriage, you have to let go of your parents. If you don't, your spouse is going to feel like you're married to your parents and not to them.
Yeah.
And that's a great way for your spouse to feel alienated or for there to be a wedge in your relationship. It won't do anything to contribute to the health of your marriage. So make sure that you separate yourselves from your parents. You can still have a great relationship with them. You just go to your spouse first and not to your parents. Yeah. And another good thing about this is if you do bring children into your marriage, then you're setting a healthy example for them about how to have a successful marriage instead of a poor example. And so you want to set your kids up to have the best success also.
And children don't learn what's taught, they learn what's caught. So really what Kim's saying is you want to model it for them. You want to model that kind of relationship for them. So the kids, you want to look at your kids and go, I want them to do what I'm doing. When Ben was like 3 years old, we lived on a farm, and I walked out to the barn. The snow was 3 or 4 inches deep, and I got out to the barn, and he was coming along behind me. He wasn't even halfway out to the barn yet, but he was trying to match my footsteps. And I nearly cried because I thought, oh my goodness, for the rest of my life, he's going to be trying to match my footsteps. So parents, you got to do that with your kids too. They're going to try and match your footsteps. So you got to set that model for them. You got to set that example for them. And scare the bejeebers out of you, but you got to buck up and do the right thing and make that model for them, make a mold for them that when they get ready to get married that they know what it really looks like. Anything else?
Very good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. We'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you would share this with somebody else, would be great. Make sure you tell other people. That really be a big help to us. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you check out the other two in this trilogy. When they're all out, we'll put a link to all of them together. Have a great day. God bless.